Hey coin collectors, and welcome the LC Coins World channel, and today we have kind of a treat for you. We found a 1945 US $quarter coin in some coins we're looking through, and we said, wow, we haven't seen one of those for a long time, and let's find out what it's valued at and how rare it is. And so, first off, let's just take a look at it. Hey coin collectors, and welcome the DC International Coin channel, and today we have kind of a treat for you. We found a 1945 US $quarter coin in some coins we're looking through, and we said, wow, we haven't seen one of those for a long time, and let's find out what it's valued at and how rare it is. And so, first off, let's just take a look at it and see what we've got here. It says Liberty at the top, you see, right? Up here. It says 1945 at the bottom, In God We Trust. And we know that 1945, this is the so-called Washington silver quarters. They were made from 1932 to 1964. They are 90 silver and they weigh about 6.5 grams. We also know that they have a rated edge. If we tip it over, we see that there are these reeds. On the edge, there are 119 of these, I believe. And you also see that there's no copper when you look in there. Okay, now the newer coins, of course. Let's take a look at a newer one. Here's a 1972. And you can actually see the copper core. Inside it, these are copper nickel-plated copper, so copper, nickel on the outside. Copper on the inside, so not a silver one. And it also turns out they are significantly different in weight. So the 5167 grams for the ones that have the copper core, and 6.25 grams for the silver. All right, so when we look at this, we see that it is very, very worn out, and when we tip it over, we see that says United States of America a pluribus, onum, and then it bought at the bottom here, says $quarter. So there's no place on the U.S. coins. That says 25 cents, so you have to know that the U.S. dollar is 100 cents and that a quarter of that is 25 cents. And that's where you get your $quarter from. 4 of these equal $1, of course. When it's silver, we change that up a little bit. So let's take a look at it. We know that this coin right here in its silver value alone, because it's a 6.25 grams of 90 silver. The silver value alone is about 0.67 right now. And so in other words, if you melted this down for silver, which technically it's illegal to melt down U.S. coins, but if you melted this down for silver, it would be worth $4.67. This is a John Flanagan design. It came out in 1932. In 1932, in the midst of the United States Depression, the stock market had crashed in 1929, and they stopped making coins for a year, and they retooled this. Was the old coin, the so-called standing Liberty coin. This is a 1926 version. We can see the marquee mint mark here in God We Trust. It says Liberty at the top, and when we flip it over, we see that it has this beautiful flying eagle United States. 1943, WWII, what a year the U.S. Mint was. Still cranking out some very nice Mercury dimes, which were made out of silver. In addition, the 1943 steel wheat penny was produced that was made because the U.S. was involved in World War II, and they needed to use the extra copper toward that in the bullet casings, and not the coins. Also, in 1943, the 90% silver quarter was still going to be about the silver quarter, which is 90% silver, was made from 32 up until 64. So this was kind of about halfway through that now. In 1943, the silver quarter is definitely rare and definitely worth more than face value. They were 99.7 million produced at the Philadelphia Mint and 16 million produced at the Denver Mint and 21.7 million produced at the Old San. So what mint is this quarter from? Any guesses? Let's flip it over and find out. The Philadelphia Mint. So if there is no mint mark right there in that space, that means that is from the Philadelphia Mint. Now, this quarter happens to be pretty worn out, so it's going to be worth less to coin collectors, but it's still going to be worth a decent amount just based on the fact that it does have 90% silver. So here's an example of another quarter from that same era that I have, and you can see the lettering along the rim is a lot less faded. However, on this one, the lettering going along the outside is definitely worn out, so that's going to decrease the value of the coin a little bit, but the coin will still maintain its value based solely on the fact that it does have, and it They precious metal, but people like to collect and hang on to. So also going on in 1943. You probably know this because mentioned it when describing the steel, penny. But World War II was going on. World War II still had another 2 years left in it. We were about halfway through World War II, which the U.S. involvement started in 1941 and ended in, you probably know this because I mentioned it when describing the steel, penny. But World War II was going on. World War II still had another 2 years left in it. We were about halfway through World War II, which the U.S. involvement started in 1941 and ended in 1945. So I'll sign off now. Have a good one, everyone, and thanks for watching the video. Take care. Next up, we're diving deep into one of the fascinating coins from the Edwardian era of British history, the United Kingdom 1 penny of 1906. At first glance, this coin might seem like just another old penny, but for collectors, even a worn example can tell an incredible story of rarity, demand, and surprising market value. So, if you're interested in learning about its background, special features, and how much it can fetch in the auction, market today, the 1906 UK penny was struck during the reign of King Edward IIth, who ruled from 1901 to 1910. Edward's short reign produced some beautiful coinage, and the penny of this is highly regarded for its historical charm. In 1906, the Royal Mint produced a large number of pennies for circulation, as Britain was at the height of its industrial age, and pennies were heavily used in everyday transactions. Despite this, surviving examples in collectible condition are increasingly difficult to find. The coin not only represents Britain's Edwardian society, but also carries the weight of a nation on the brink of World War I just a few years later. The 1906 penny features the portrait of King Edward IIth on the obverse facing right, designed by George William Dales. His portrait is clean and dignified with the Latin inscription, Edward 7 Brito and Rex Fidef, meaning Edward illeth by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, defender of the faith, Emperor of India. On the reverse, we see Britannia seated with her trident and shield, a powerful national symbol of Britain's strength and authority. The year 1906 is engraved below, even in warm condition. The even in worn condition is becoming harder each year. Collectors who specialize in completing a full Edward IIth penny set are particularly keen on securing a 1906 penny in any condition, which drives up its demand in auctions and private sales. So how much is a 1906 penny worth today? In worn condition, values generally range from $115,000, depending on how much of the design is still visible, however better preserved. Examples, those in fine or very fine grades, can sell between $126,000. High-grade specimens, particularly uncirculated examples with a brilliant finish, can command $250,000 or more at auction. The market has seen exceptional prices for coins with strong details and original patina, showing that even a seemingly common penny can surprise collectors with its value. If you're looking to add a 1906 penny to your collection, here are a few tips. Even worn coins should display Edward II's portrait and Britannia's outline clearly. Many collectors prefer with a natural age tone rather than polished surfaces. This ensures authenticity and avoids counterfeits, which do exist in the penny market. While worn examples are affordable, higher-grade coins can escalate quickly in price. Knowing your spending limit will help you make smart decisions. The United Kingdom 1 penny of 1906 may not be the rarest coin in British. Today, we are looking at rare Washington quarters that have sold for a lot of money, some even thousands and thousands of dollars. So first up, we're going to focus here on the 1953 90% silver Washington quarter. Now, you can look for some of these errors on other quarters as well, not just 1953 quarters. So other dates also. Now, the first thing you want to know, of course, about the 1953 quarter is that it is 90% silver, which means right now, with the current silver price, these coins are worth around $7 a piece just in silver value. But there are things that can make these a lot more valuable. Now, the first thing you want to look for is a double die reverse. So you want to get out your coin microscopes, coin loops. Look for doubling on the lettering on the back, the reverse of the Washington quarter. Now, I do have coin microscopes available at the link in the comments below this video. This is that quarter, with a DDR, a double die reverse, and this coin sold for around $50 at the auction. If it didn't have that, double die reverse, maybe a $20 coin, $15 coin, somewhere in that range, graded out of 63. So it really just depends on when you sell the coin as well. Now, this next coin sold for nearly $1,000. It does have some amazing toning to the coin as well. This is the dint mark also, just like the previous coin. So, if you're not familiar with the D-Mintium mark, it just represents the Denver Mint. That will be the mint mark at the bottom of the coin on the reverse of the quarter. This coin sold for nearly $1,000 because it is graded at a mint state 67+. It also does have the CAC sticker there on the coin holder, which helps its value, of course, as well. So if you have one of these coins and you think it's an extremely high top graded coin, you might want to consider grading it. But there are coins like this that are graded at a 64, just 3 grades lower that only sold for $18. So, a big difference in values there based on the grade of the coin. I mean, this looks like a beautiful coin, right? But there's a big difference from a... Now, also another thing you want to look for on the D-Mint mark is a D over an inverted D-Mintium mark. AI, all right, so you could see that here in the image displayed. That's what you want to look for with your coin microscopes and coin loops. Now, this coin does have that dint mark over the inverted D-Mint mark. And the coin sold for around $500 at auction graded at a mint state 64. By the way, a 70 is the best grade you can get on a coin, so it just depends for each different coin of, different prices. So, a mint state 66 on a 1953, a Denver minted quarter is not going to be the same price as a mint state asmachate on a bindokuzelidikis Smith mark quarter. So it's different for each individual coin. It depends on how many are graded at that specific grade. Now, you can also look for a D over an S mint mark. And this coin sold for over $900.